Hello, this is Dread from Last Epic Builds, and in today's video topic, it's going to be a hammer throw crit build. So story time. So me and my community, like the Last Epic community, we all thought that hammer throw crit was a bad idea generally, because usually hammer throw ailment base is a lot better than the crit version. But after months of searching for a good crit hammer throw build, I have finally found a good combination that works properly. So we're talking about NRES technique, and the way NRES technique works is it disables certain parts of hammer throw, meaning you can't spiral with it and can't orbit with it, but it does give you more damage for those stats. So it is the preferred way of dealing damage, like hit damage with a hammer throw. Now, as you can tell as well, we'll always be at negative mana with this build because we are utilizing the mana starved forging node, which makes it so our out of mana cost of hammer throw is 0, meaning that no matter how far negative we are in mana, meaning we will always be able to cast our hammer throw skill. Now as well, we combine this with Volatile Reversal, which is cost at 0 mana, and of course we utilize Smite, which costs 0 mana when out of mana, obviously, right? And then of course we use Holy Aura, which gives us another thing to utilize as well. Holy Aura is just a passive. It doesn't need to be used or anything. It just gives us passive stats. And then of course we also have Sigils of Hope. Now, Sigils of Hope is really interesting in this version of the build because the way we are utilizing it is we are putting it on instant cast and then auto casting it, which allows us to actually full uptime our Sigils of Hope without causing any issues, because our Sigils of Hope puts us back down to negative mana once we reach positive mana. Doesn't matter because all our skills cost 0 mana anyways. This causes us to be able to actually run Sigils of Hope all the way up and gives us a lot of damage, and enough to the point where hammer throw crit is worth it. Now as well, another part of the build is the fact that dual wielding exists. Well, there is a node at the upper top of the Sentinel passive tree that gives us 30% increased attack and cast speed if we are holding an axe or a sword, and if you did not know, this does double dip with dual wielding. Now, me and my community are unsure on whether or not this is going to be unchanged, but if this does get changed, you can simply just fix the build by adding a little bit more throwing attack speed, so it's not necessarily necessary for this build to function. Now, other things as well is the ability to dual wield is very strong, as we can put both crit chance and crit multi on our build. We're running about 340% crit multi, and if we end up running a Lyraka's Claws, which is a unique pair of gloves that came in with the rogue that gives us 130% chance critical strike multiplier, very strong for us, right? Brings our crit from 300 to 400%. Which pretty much gives us a 30% more damage boost. Very strong. The only thing I did lack in this build, what you're seeing right now, is I'm missing a little bit of increased damage. You could obviously spec into Devouring Blade for another 100% increased damage inside Sentinel as well. I did have to, my gearing this time around was very unlucky. You can also get increased damage on your chest and your helm as well, which I would heavily suggest because there's increased hammer throw damage as a suffix, as a class mod. Now, with that being said, let's get on into the skills, shall we? First skill we'll be looking at is hammer throw. So while leveling, this is obviously going to be the way you want to level. So you're going to take 1 point into winged hammers, 1 point into steadfast path, which gives us a 35% chance to deal double damage, as the hammers no longer return to us as normally hammers return back. Then obviously we have catapult as well, so we get extra projectiles. As you can tell, the added mana does not matter for this build. Our hammer throw costs 27 mana, but like I said, it does not matter. And of course we go over here to get iron spiral, which, you know, obviously gives us the spiral. Then hammer vortex, right? And we grab 5 points into zealot's conviction, but then we take 3 points into rapid throw for travel. then 1 point into Enra's technique. This is what the build is based around. So the fact that we took Spiral, which is up here, right? And then we took Orbit, which is up here. We took both these nodes. It gives us an 80% more damage multiplier and then a 4% base critical strike chance. This is by far one of the main ways to run crit hammer throw. And of course, obviously, running Enra's technique allows us to run Hammer's Mana Star Forging, which obviously makes the build viable because, as you can tell, when we get to 0 mana, our hammers cost 0, which allows us to infinitely spam hammers. This is very strong as you stack attack speed and is one of the main ways that we deal more damage. And of course, for the last few nodes, we grab the weighted hammers as well, because we want that increased damage. I mean, that more damage, obviously. And other than that, there's nothing really else to talk about hammer throw, just lots and lots of damage. This has been the best way I've ever made the skill tree for hammer throw. All right, next skill. All right, here we are with Holy Aura, one of the main reasons we are going Paladin. So we take 2 points into Call to Arms for travel, but we do get physical damage, and we do have physical damage on our hammers. 4 points into Strength from Afar, a lot of throwing attack damage, obviously very strong. 4 points into throwing attack speed. We also get the haste chance, very strong with kiting, as you can kind of move while you attack with your hammers, and attack speed's always strong. And of course, you grab Fanaticism, grants more increased attack speed. This is global attack speed, so it does stack with this. So you get 32% chance, 32% increased attack speed from this tree. Then we take 1 point into Demoralizing Aura, as to give our enemies a slow aura around us, which is very strong. If you combine it with Chill on Hit on one of your weapons, makes the enemies really slow. And of course, 5 points into Shelter from the Storm, and if you did not know, Holy Aura gives you 30% increased damage and also gives you 30% increased elemental res, which is very strong with Shelter from the Storm, as it gives us 55% elemental resistance, which allows us to pretty much cap our elemental res with just one suffix, which is one of the reasons why Paladin is so strong right now. Alright, and that's pretty much it for Holy Aura. Let's get into the next skill. All right, now we have Smite here. So there's only a few nodes that are very important in this build, which I'll go over. We take 2 points travel into Holy Wave, 1 point into Panacea for travel, and then 1 point into Desperate Measures. This makes it so that our Smite has a 0 mana out of mana cost. Then of course we go to 3 points into Righteous Flurry for travel, then 5 points into Righteous Fury, then Righteous Flurry. You have increased attack and cast speed if you've hit an enemy with Smite recently. This is very, very, very strong, as it's global attack speed and works really well for your throwing attacks. And of course, we go for the Descend node, which gives us a teleport on a 6-second cooldown. So we utilize our Smite as our movement skill. And as you can tell, if we are out of mana here, we can cast Smite for free, which allows us to pretty much go about our day like we normally would, right? And of course, all the other nodes are completely like, you don't really need to talk about these nodes. Like, you can get whatever you want. It doesn't really matter at all. You can even add Fissure if you really wanted to. It does not matter in the slightest. You could actually get the kill on Fissure. That'd be cool. All right, that's pretty much it for Smite. Let's get into the next skill, shall we? All right, now we have Volatile Reversal here. So we take 2 points travel into Time Sap, 1 point into Time Loss Vitality to turn off the health scaling with Volatile Reversal, 3 points into Warp Time for more attack speed for our hammers, 3 points into Catching Up so that we have movement speed, better movement speed, 1 point into Terminal Void Rift, so we get a Void Rift on arrival, 4 points into Dark Expanse, so we get more area. I believe what you should do is you should take 1 point out of this, and then put 1 point into Incipient Void Rift. That was my fault. You should put 1 point there instead. 3 points travel into Dark Expanse, then 3 points into Harbinger of Dust. This is increased damage taken, meaning it gives you pretty much a 30% more damage multiplier. And of course, 2 points into Traveler's Fatigue, and then 1 point into Time Lost Wisdom, as we do not want to gain or lose mana with this build because it does not matter, and it's better to have cooldown speed, and it turns our Volatile Reversal into kind of like another movement skill, which is very strong, as Sentinel has lack of good movement skills, so Volatile Reversal kind of like fills in that niche of being able to get out of dodge. Alright, and that's it for Volatile Reversal. Now on to the next skill. All right, now we have the Sigils of Hope. So the main thing is we're going to take 5 points into Empowering Sigils. Since we have 4 sigils, this gets us up to 120% increased damage. 2 points into Word of Alicerity, doesn't matter, it's just travel, so that we can get to Exigency, so that this is autocast. If you don't know how to autocast, just look up Numlock Autocast Diablo, and you'll find a video probably going to show you about autocasting. Of course, 3 points into Decree of Flame, so we deal additional fire damage per sigil. So we get 4 fire damage with our attacks with regular sigil, then 3 here. So you get 7 fire damage per sigil, so we get 28 flat throwing fire damage with our sigils. And of course, we get also 120% increased damage, which is why sigils is very strong if your build can manage to keep them up. And of course, we take 4 points into Iron Sigils for armor while we have Sigils up, which is very strong, gives us a good buffer of damage. 4 points into Enduring Hope. This doesn't matter, it's just travel all the way up to Tetragram to give us even more max sigils, so that we're at 4 max sigils instead of 3. And of course, like I said, you turn it on autocast, and as you can tell, so the way that auto lock works, numlock works, is it takes priority. So even if I'm trying to use my skills, it will take priority and pop it for me. So I pretty much have 100% uptime on my sigils, no issue. Pretty much I can stay in here and do stuff forever, does not matter. Sometimes you could technically put Holy Aura on autocast, but it's not as important as sigils are, right? So you could technically set up a secondary one for Holy Aura to get even more uptime on attack speed and all that, but I don't really need to myself. All right, and that's been it for the skills. Let's talk about the passive trees. Alright, here we are with the Sentinel base tree. So we take 8 points into Juggernaut to fill out some of our void resistance, 6 points into Fearless so that we can move up later on, 10 points into Relentless for more increased damage because we want to deal a lot of damage with this build. And of course we take Gladiator so that we can offhand a sword, so we get 2 weapons instead of 1, and that's important for this node up here, Blade Master, if you did not know. This double dip, so in 5 points in this will give us 60% increased attack speed, which will bring us all the way up to almost 100% increased attack speed while just sitting here, and then obviously all the other stuff gives us more attack speed. Then of course we go into Void Knight here, we take about 8 to 9, 10 points into Abyssal Endurance depending how much Void Res you need. You need at least 5 points into this to get Volatile Reversal. I would heavily suggest with some of the points you get to go into Devouring Blade to give you a little bit more damage, as that's very strong. And of course we have points in Forge Guard. We take 8 points into Weapon Master, so our hammer throw gets damage per strength, so this gives us about 7% increased damage per node, which is very strong. Of course, 2 points into Peltas to get all the way up into Shield Breaker. So since our hammer throw costs 0, well, it's out of mana, right, we can infinitely do this for as long as we want, meaning that the throwing attack mana, the physical shred stacks and the fire shred stacks would make us deal 5% more damage per stack and 2% more versus bosses, right? Very, very, very strong for taking down rares, right? Obviously, you can put extra points into this to make the stacks stack faster. I would heavily suggest doing so. I just did not have that much points because I'm only level 78. And of course, moving on to Paladin, take 8 points into Conviction. Most of our damage is either physical or fire thanks to all the stuff we get from the tree and all that, so this is very strong for us. 5 points into Valor, so we get HP to move up. And then we take 10 points into Flash of Brilliance, a lot of HP and Blind Chance, meaning that enemies don't hit us as often with projectiles. 7 points into Holy Symbol, so that we can pretty much cap our necrotic res with 1 suffix, which is very strong. Then 10 points into Holy Precision. This is 100% the main reason why we are going Paladin, for the 300% chance, critical strike chance. This pretty much almost makes up for the fact that we cannot run Lunge with this build due to the fact that we cannot make Lunge 0 mana. The reason why we would run Lunge is for the increased critical strike chance from Avenger's Charge, but sadly we cannot abuse this fact, so we have to go for Holy Precision. And that's pretty much it for the skill tree. Like I said, fill out this for Shield Breaker, then take Devouring Blade, and you're pretty much, and of course finish off Blade Master, and that's pretty much it for the skill trees. Let's talk about the gearing now, shall we? All right, here's the gearing. So this is pretty much what you want for your idols. You want throwing critical strike multiplier for your idols, so you get even more critical strike multiplier. All four of your idols should be this, and then this idol you want to have as leech damage on hit, as this is the only source of leech we get from the build because it's the best source of leech we can get, and it fits perfectly with the other parts of our idols, right? Now, of course, for our helmet, we go for crit chance, dodge, vitality. I would heavily suggest instead of that crit chance to go for hammer throw, increased damage. But other than that, this is perfect. So on our amulet, we go for dodge, and then flat throwing attack damage, very strong. The increased fire damage taken doesn't really matter. You obviously want the bone amulet for capping your res. And for our first weapon, this is very important. We require a Raider Axe in our main hand because it gives us 5% base crit for our throwing attacks. If you did not know, that is global base crit, so it works for everything, including throwing attacks, which is very strong for us as it allows us to scale our base critical strike chance to the moon with throwing attacks, right? Which is very strong for this build. Now, obviously, for the prefixes, since there is no such thing as throwing attack damage, and both of our damages are kind of like between fire and fizz, you want to go for just percentage increased damage. You want to go for crit and then crit multi on your weapons, right? Crit and then crit multi. Armor shred on hits, very strong as a suffix. You also want probably chill on hit, which is very strong as well for those rares and stuff and all that, right? And of course, for our chest, we go for dodge, vitality, dodge, increased health. You could probably end up going for hammer throw, increased damage with this chest. I would heavily suggest doing so. I just have not been lucky in dropping enough of them to make a chest. Now, for our rings, this is very important. We go for both of the flat damage affixes. The increased damage, fire damage taken doesn't matter because we're trying to build dodge anyways, so we shouldn't be getting hit in the first place. So this gives us a lot of our flat damage that we need, which is very strong, and that's why we're doing so much damage. And of course, we're running dodge potion, dodge. This belt could be much better, obviously, right, with increased health and hybrid health and all that. Of course, our gloves, you want increased damage because it's a large amount of increased damage. Vitality, dodge, fizz, just capping our reses. Dodge, movement speed, dodge, crit multi. This is very important because we want as much crit multi as possible. And of course, void res to cap out our void res. And that's pretty much it for the gearing. Like you said, I was very unlucky. You could refine this to a T and start doing almost end game tier DPS with this build. I'm just simply moving on as I have other builds I want to try as well before the next patch. All right, and that's pretty much it for the gearing, and that's pretty much it for the video as well. With that being said, if you guys would like to comment, subscribe, and like the video, as that helps me out a lot. And of course, I do stream almost every day now at twitch.tv/apprentice last epic builds. Just look up on Twitch. There will be a link in the description as well. And there will also be a build planner of the build in the description as well. With that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day. And this has been Dread from Last Epic Builds. Bye!